Hey everyone, I'm Brad from Calgary.
This is Sean from Cambridge, Ontario.
I'm Terry from Cornwall, Ontario.
Hey, this is Larry from Pitt Meadows, British Columbia, and you're listening to the Towing Life podcast.
Welcome to the Towing Life podcast, where the ditches are deep, the trucks are loaded, but the drivers are not. I am your host, TowManG, and as usual, I am joined by my co-host, friend, and former co-worker, the man with very strong opinions, Mr. PlainGuy.
What is going on, G? What is going on?
Oh, it's just another week. How about yourself?
Oh, it's been a week, that is for sure. It is never a dull moment in the towing industry, as we know.
Oh,
And
happy Moom Ears.
I don't know what that means,
Happy
but yes,
Moom Ears.
absolutely. Yeah. At the time of airing of this episode, we will be one day into a wonderful new 2024.
Yeah.
I hope many of you made your New Year's resolutions.
Hope everyone had a Merry Chrysler.
This guy's just full of them today. So yes, we did take the week off between posting an episode between Christmas and New Year's. Once again to spend some time with our families. G knows that I don't spend much time with my family or my wife.
No, you don't.
So it was nice for me to be able to shut down during that time, not have to worry about towing, not have to worry about recording. I ended up out a couple nights during Christmas.
Of course.
So the podcast got put on hold, but unfortunately the towing industry never does quite. So no, it was great. Got together with family. The holidays are crazy, right? Like it's so busy. And I find every year it gets like more and more and more and more, right? Because as families grow and everything else, like I don't know about how your family operates, but it's like we've got my dad, Christmas with my dad, Christmas with my mom, and then Christmas with my wife's parents.
Mm-hmm.
Like we haven't found a way to amalgamate all these into one, which would be an ideal situation. So they're all done on separate. So it's like 3 different Christmas dinners over 3 different days. By the end of it, you're beat. You're tired.
I used to have those type of things when I was a kid, when I was young, going to my dad's side of families, Christmas dinner, and then my mom's side and everything like that. But now it's pretty much just barely one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sometimes
barely
less is
one,
more.
meaning it was cold turkey. The girlfriend had to work, or she was taking care of her grandfather, so she didn't get home till late. And yeah, it was still nice time, having a good time with our family and played
Absolutely.
some board games.
And I hope everyone listening got to enjoy somewhat a resemblance of Christmas. Hopefully you weren't ran rampant. Hopefully you got some time to have a meal, whether it be cold or warm turkey. Hey, Nothing wrong with some cold turkey every once in a while.
Oh, especially cold turkey sandwiches, open face, bit of mayonnaise. If you got some gravy, heat up some gravy, put that on top. Delicious lunch.
Like mayonnaise and gravy?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oof.
We're mayonnaise connoisseurs over here. I got that as an insult one day. We walked into a Wimpy's diner, me and the girlfriend, just to pick up some lunch and eat it in the tow truck the one day she was with me. And I went to the shitter to do my thing and came back out. And she was like, I put extra mayonnaise in the bag. I didn't ask, but you guys look like mayonnaise people. And I was like, oh, thank you.
For sure, it's like a low-key way to call somebody fat, but all right.
Yeah.
You look like high-fat mayonnaise people. I'm just throwing that out there. No, I'm all for it. Like I said, leftover turkey. My wife, the plan this weekend is to make some soup. We made this soup recipe years ago from scratch, and it's delicious. So I know she got a lot of leftover turkey. A little mix of both. Yeah. The one trick that we learned about this soup, so I love, especially this time of year, I actually went out and I ordered, I love ramen. Big ramen guy. I like soup. I like warm, especially on a cold day. If it's damp out, something like that, you get home and you might not have a lot of time, something like a ramen. And I'm talking about those like pre-frozen cooked that you just throw them in a pot. Like it's
the one
not
that
just
costs like 67 cents.
No. That's like the Mr. Noodles, the cheaps. I am a big fan of that stuff too. Oh, okay. No. This is like pre-packaged, vacuum sealed, frozen with the broth and everything. They're like $8 a piece or something. They're not bad. I ordered them offline or online. And so I'm a big soup guy. So she got this. She made this soup one year from scratch, with the bone broth and did the whole thing. And the one trick that we found in the soup is instead of just being like a turkey, like a chicken noodle soup, but I don't think we put noodles. I don't remember. Is you take like 2 cups of the soup out and you blend it and then you put it back in and it like thickens up the entire soup almost to like a creamy soup. Right? Changes the texture completely. It's delicious. She'll be making it. It's something you cook in the crock pot.
Yep.
And it'll last a couple weeks. Some turkey sandwiches. Absolutely. Turkey sandwiches on dinner rolls with some mayo. That is my go-to after the holidays.
Yeah, a little bit of salt and pepper on top, and
yeah,
delicious.
exactly. Maybe a little bit of shredded cheese if we're feeling a little fancy that day.
Yeah.
And so the holidays are great. Like I said, I hope everyone had a safe Christmas. I hope they got time to spend time with their families. I hope the new year is even better, and I hope everybody is rolling into 2024 with, some new ambitions, some new expectations, some new joy, some new happiness, and all that good stuff. So if you want to tell us about your holidays, because we love to hear it. If you had something crazy happen over your holidays, right? Because Christmas can also lead to some of the craziest times, right? Domestic incidences are up. They happen every year around Christmas and New Year's. It's true. Anybody that listens to or reads a police report or listens to a police scanner will tell you that come the holiday season, people get a little crazy. So if you've got that story, whether it be a tow story or just an all-around Christmas story that you want to share with the show, how can you do that? It's easy. You can email us at thetowinglife@gmail.com. You can visit our Facebook page, the Towing Life podcast. I had to think about that for a second. You can visit our website, www.towinglife.ca. From there, you will find a contact us tab where you can send us a message. We're going to get to a couple of those messages today. And if you're watching over on the YouTube side, do not forget to hit that like, subscribe, and comment down below what your favorite part of your Christmas season was this year. We are also, speaking of the email, going to be running a contest into 2024. Now, I said we would not do the recovery of the month calendar again, and I'll get to that. But we are going to run a little bit of a contest. So my co-host has been wonderful for all these years. What are we going on? 2 years, almost 3 years now? We're heading into our 3rd year, or we're
something like that.
We're in our 2nd year, whatever it is. And my co-host has been wonderful. But there is days that I want to fire this man. I want to absolutely, and I'm sure he feels the same way about me most times. Maybe especially now.
It's like chasing the child around. When can we record?
So here is what we are going to do. We are going to run a contest for 2024. I don't know when it'll end yet. So you're going to want to get in on this early. Win a chance to be a co-host on the Towing Life podcast. It is simple. You are going to record yourself in a video. I don't care if it's on your phone. I don't care if it's on your computer. I don't care where it is. There will be points for quality on audio and video because we're a professional organization here.
Very.
Record you telling your favorite towing story and send it to us at thetowinglife@gmail.com. So again, THE towinglife@gmail.com. Submit it as a subject line. Be sure to put co-host contest, and we will review some videos. And if we get some submissions and we find some, we will book you as a chance to be a co-host. Not only will you get to be a co-host, you will get to determine who you want to co-host the show with, whether it be myself or Mr. TowManG. So head over to towinglife.ca/co-host with no dash and get the information there on what we're looking for. And we will post that contest and you'll get a chance to become your own co-host of the Towing Life podcast. What do you think, G?
Well, this is the first I've been hearing of this. Now, granted, you kind of brought something like this up last year, but I cut it out of the actual podcast because it was so just against, like, you pulled it out of the seam of your pants, pretty much.
Kind of just did now.
Yeah, because before we started this, you're like, we got a contest, but I'm not going to tell you this. I haven't done any of the artwork for it. I haven't done any of the groundwork for it. Nothing. So if you go to the website and it's not there, that's because PlainGuy has dropped the ball and hasn't done it yet.
PlainGuy is currently doing it as we speak. At least setting the page up so that I remember to go do it after.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's a good idea, mainly for the fact that if we like you as a co-host and one of us needs to call in sick, you might be getting a phone call from one of us say, "Hey, you want to get it back on the show one more time?"
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's all kinds of things that can happen to this.
Mhm.
So be sure to head over to towinglife.ca/co-host, or just head over to towinglife.ca. Up on the top bar, you'll see a
Country
tab for
doesn't
co-host
matter. If you
contest.
live in Zimbabwe, as long as your English is decent, you're good.
Hey, man, I'm willing to have a Spanish co-host. We could have some fun with it. If you speak more than one language, bonus points.
Yeah. Yeah, I
We'll
failed.
judge on video quality, we will judge on audio quality, and we will judge on just ability to speak. Put it this way, if G would have submitted for this contest, he might not have won.
Probably not.
All I'm saying.
No. Probably
That's
would not
all I'm
win.
saying. And at the same time, don't forget, while you're over at the towinglife.ca/recovery, get your recovery of the month calendar. We are down to our last couple calendars. They have sold very well. We are very happy to be letting you know we'll be making our first contribution for everything sold to date so far to the Provincial Towing Association's benevolent fund. I think that's how you say it.
Something like that.
Where $5 from every calendar goes towards a good cause in helping families from victims that were hit and or killed on this side of the highway or side of roadways in the towing industry. So head over to towinglife.ca/recovery. Get your recovery of the month calendar. It's not too late. There's 12 months. Even if you get to if you get it now, if you buy it now, you'll have it by the end of January for sure. You're only gonna miss one picture. I think you're gonna miss Mr. Jonah Robb was our January from
It's a good picture. So if you order it as soon as you see this podcast, you might have a chance to actually get part of January viewing pleasure out of the calendar.
Absolutely. So we
Or
are
you could
running
be
low
like
on.
me and just forget to flip the calendar and you could look at it all year round if you want.
Absolutely. So we are running low on quantity. So be sure to get your order in before we are sold out. Once we are sold out, there will not be any more. That'll be the last of the recovery of the month calendars.
And you don't have to buy one to send it to me because PlainGuy was a nice enough guy to send me one. Apparently, I'll believe
Yeah.
it when I see it. It hasn't shown up yet, but knock on
There's
wood.
there's a couple in the mail heading to TowManG, so he could probably hang it up on his back wall behind him. I see a little space that he hasn't managed to jam something into.
Well, I've got stuff I could jam places. Like I've got a nice green
Uh,
Chevrolet sign that I got as a tip the one day.
so speaking of tips, let's give our listeners a tip.
Okay.
Right? Our listeners love tips. It makes them happy, right? They love little tricks and tips that we have. We are going to get to some listener questions, and we've got a couple good ones I want to go over here on the show. But this video, okay, we have this
From
video
the interwebs.
from the interwebs. We never
On
did
the
create
Towing
our
Life
intro.
podcast.
Yeah. So from the interwebs, there is this video, and I have seen this technique attempted over and over and over.
I've
and
been
over
seeing it
again.
more frequently in 2023, to be honest with you.
That's because people are watching social media and going, I bet you I could do that. Let me explain something. So what we are talking about is the end over end rollover
And landing on a flatbed.
and trying to land it on a flatbed. So we'll play the video, right, of these. This is new to me. Okay. I want to pause this right here. So these people, because I refuse to call these people operators. These people are attempting to do an end over end rollover on a highway or interstate somewhere.
Mhm.
So we've all seen it, right? Guys will hook it up, wedge the bed under the tip, get it to roll over. And normally when it hits its peak, it falls over to one side or another.
Yep.
These guys went, no, we're smarter than that.
Mhm.
We're the smart bunch of steering wheel holders that operate within this industry. They decided that they were going to add a second truck next to the primary truck doing the rollover in what I can only assume is an attempt to stabilize the vehicle as it comes over.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing I can see. What I don't understand, and this bugs me, if you have, so they are obviously working on a left shoulder, like set of a freeway and interstate, and it looks like they have lane 1 blocked as well, because that's where the second truck is set up to do this.
They got 2 lanes blocked because there's someone standing in that lane.
Well, the truck is in that lane. There's a second truck in there.
There's lane 1's blocked and lane 2 is also blocked
Well,
because
this
that's
is a
where
shoulder.
Buddy's standing.
No, that's a shoulder. The left side is a shoulder, and the middle is lane 1.
Well, I thought the yellow line would be like
I
a
believe that's the
HOV
shoulder.
lane.
No, I believe it's just the shoulder.
Okay.
So, anyways, they are blocking a live lane to do this, to use this truck to stabilize. Now, any operator that I have seen, or that I have trained, or that I have come across, and I have come across some real winners, could do this rollover with the one truck that's in the live lane, if you're going to shut that lane down anyways, and a 2x4.
Mm-hmm.
And have that rolled over right behind him.
Mm-hmm.
And ready to be loaded. Right? Like, I think that's this guy's concern is, oh, if I roll it, it's going to have to be sideways. I only know how to roll sideways. Okay, do yourself a favor. Before you do this, go and invest in some training. Because the $600 or not even $1,000 training course you're going to do in a weekend will save you more than $1,000 in damage you're going to do to something right now.
Worst case scenario. Worst case. You run your winch line down the side of the car and hook to the back rim. You spin it so it's sideways to you. You then roll it, and then you spin it again to load it.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. But no, these geniuses go, ooh, 2 lines, better than 1 line. What could go out of the 4 ways just on the car and everything? All right, we got it. We got it. Oh, yeah. Johnny, easy, Johnny. I don't know what's hanging. I don't know if they did hang the rag off thinking it'll kill the line if it breaks. There's something hanging off the winch line on the primary truck.
Looks like a snatch block.
It would have slid all the way down, though.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be hanging up middle there. No,
unless that's a chain, and that's the actual hook.
There's something hanging on. Maybe, but like it's not working.
No,
it's not. And look where this guy is standing between the trucks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're nowhere near their tipping point just yet. They're almost at their tipping point.
Yeah, but
you could
this
tell they're adjusting. Yeah,
this whole video doesn't have anything happening to it. What you're watching right now is them just moving the car back and forth and then getting freaked out because it moved a quarter of an inch the way they didn't think it was going to go.
Yes.
Like, having a car suspended like this in the air is sketchy as hell. Like, especially if you're on the highway. If you're doing it in a yard to attempt it, you're stupid enough. But trying to do this in a live lane or on the side of an interstate, that's just bonkers. Because the amount of things that can go wrong is just skyrocketing.
And what's the best case scenario? This thing lands on the bed?
Yeah. And then rolls away.
And then probably rolls away. Yeah. Probably breaks and bends and does some damage to the subframe. Mm-hmm. Right? To everything on this truck. So they did manage to get the car to come over. And we have that video as well. Which they still missed.
Yeah.
After all of that.
Well, they didn't fully miss.
Well, they got half the car on the bed. Watch the bed bounce. Oh, that's good on that frame.
Yeah.
That's good on that bed rail. That's good on everything that he just. So
I wonder if they're proud of that.
They might have been. And I mean, I don't want to just shit on incompetent operators.
No, right? That is an HOV lane if you go back to the other video.
Well, sorry. We're both playing with buttons here.
See, if you look up at the sign, HOV lane.
Okay, fine. So they got 2 lanes blocked. Yep. 3 lanes with the buffer zone they've been given. Mm-hmm. And that's the best solution they came up with. You have 3 lanes to work in on a rolled over car. And you decide that this is the best use of your time and energy.
Yeah. With 2 trucks.
With 2 trucks. So
and
please.
They say flatbeds can't recover.
My flatbeds recover a lot better than this does. So please, if this is you in this video, I do not mean to ridicule you. I know it comes across that way, and I know I kind of am. But please use this as a wake-up call. Don't do this. You're going to hurt yourself, you're going to hurt somebody else, and you're going to hurt your equipment. Go out, spend that money, get some training. Because without it, I'm telling you, you're in for a
you want to know one good thing those operators did? They didn't have their rear work lights on to
And blind
blind
traffic.
oncoming drivers.
Maybe they would have seen the car better.
Maybe.
So, moving on from how not to do a rollover. We do have a question here from Eric from New York. He sent us in a couple things that we'll hopefully get to in the future of the show. But one of his questions I thought was great because I think we've all been there.
Mm-hmm.
Question for the show. When towing a car on a flatbed with a flat tire using the 8-point tie down, do you strap the flat tire? Gee, I'll let you answer that one first. I've been going on a tangent there, so I'll let you get to that one.
Yes, you would strap that tire, right? Now, technically, 3 straps on your casualty, as long as you're within your working load limit of your straps, is legal here, at least. I'm not sure where you are. Your laws may be different. But it's an 8-point tie down system. If you strap around the tire that's all discombobulated, you can get that as tight as you want and it's still not going to do anything. Now, you can easily just put it over the tire and crank it down as tight as you can just for looks. Yeah, it's not going to do anything, but to the untrained eye, they might say, oh, it's got all its straps on, and let you carry on. Or what you could do is be a little bit more creative and use a different strap and strap through the rim. Or you could just be lazy and leave that strap tight on your bed and just carry down the road with 3 straps on the casualty.
So, I don't know if that was the answer or not, but it kind of was. So, my personal opinion on this one, Eric, is simple. If it is one of the tires that is towards the front of the flatbed, then no. If it is one of the tires towards the rear of the flatbed, then yes. And there's a reason for that, right? The winch does not count as a point of securement. We're all in agreement on this. And if you say otherwise, sorry about your luck. Okay. Yep. The winch does not count as a point of attachment. And you are right. In our area, you require 50% of the load and stop movement from left to right, front to back. That is the rule for the securement of the vehicle. So 3 tire straps is sufficient. Now, if I put 2 tire straps on the front and 1 on the back, because of the vehicle bouncing around in the back, 1 tire strap will not move. That back end will wander. So even if that tire is flat and you put the ratchet strap as tight as you can, you are still going to stop the rear end from wandering. If that flat tire is up at the front of the truck, it will not wander because the tire strap combined with the actual winch that is still on it, whether it be still tight or lightly slacked off the way it should be, will stop that vehicle from wandering around. Not a lot, but enough that it will.
It's there. If it wants to, it can catch it.
Exactly. But you also get more bounce off the tail behind your axle. There's a lot that play into that. So yes, I have seen the back end of a vehicle hop around. I have not seen a front end of a vehicle hop around.
Yep.
Right. So that is why I say if and I'm legal with doing the 3, and I've secured front to back and side to side.
Yep.
It's more likely, even with your front to back, side to side, with 1 on the rear, that your back end, your tires in the front will turn, and it'll allow the car at the back end to move over, even with your tire strap staying on it. If it's the opposite way around, you got 2 on the back, that front end won't go anywhere with 1 up on it because it's not a steerable axle, right? Provided the car is on frontwards. So yes, if it is the axle towards a tire towards the front of the tow truck, I will run with 3. Sometimes I'll put the 4th on just to, out of abundance of caution. But no, for the majority of the time, if it is a front up at the front, I won't. But G is right. Take that same 8-point tie down that you have, run it through the rim. And I mean through, not just grabbing a spoke, but actually touching the face of the circumference of the rim. Okay. Run it through there and back up to one of your tie down spots and then ratchet it. And that'll give you very close to the same thing. Even if you're going a bit off to the side, that's great. Or just go to your cluster hooks, your cluster straps.
If you're wheel lifting or dollying a flat tire, you're not strapping around the loose tire. You're strapping around the rim. Right? So it's secured to your truck or to the dolly. If you're worried about the load And if I know Eric's not a new operator, but this is for new operators out there. If this is something that's new to you, congratulations for being in the towing industry. We'll see you at the door in about a year's time. Strap it. Just do the extra step. Take your, if you're not running a strapless wheel lift, use that wheel strap and go through the rim because it's easier than pulling off your 8-point tie down and pushing it through because a lot of times they're hooked underneath with chains. Use that strap and go through one of your pockets if there's one handy. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight. Just make sure you got a bit of a sidewards angle on it because once again, you're trying to prevent the side-to-side motion more or less. The other 3 straps that are on the casualty can stop the forward and backward rocking, right? You just want to make sure that ass end or the front end or whatever end that you're worried about that has the flat doesn't move side to side. Put an extra strap on if you're worried about it. If not, then you probably will just say, screw it. It's got 3 straps on it. It's good enough and carry on. As long as you're legal, that's the main thing, really.
Yeah. It's not even just about legal, right? Legal should be safe.
Yep.
Right? Legal should be safe. Mm-hmm. Safe is not always legal. Yeah. Legal is not always safe. Mm-hmm. Should be, but it isn't. But yeah. So no, absolutely. Take an extra strap and just throw it on cluster straps. I'm a huge fan of those cluster ratchets. If you don't know what I'm talking about, okay, BA products, find friends over BA, and almost every other towing supply place sells them. Mm-hmm. They are a ratchet strap, like you would find the 8-point, and on the end of it, they've got a cluster with a mini J, an R hook, a T hook. Mm-hmm. Normally that's about it. Some have a grab hook. I've seen some with a grab hook. Mm-hmm. Those things are a godsend because, like G's saying, you take your little axle straps, run them through the rim, hook your T hook onto it, pull it tight, ratchet it. You've got your securement. Yep. Cars are coming with less and less tie downs underneath where it comes a spot to put a mini J or a T hook. Mm-hmm. It happens. So be very careful when you're using them.
The spots that are there, you'll pull through pretty damn quick.
Exactly. So be careful on where you put them. But at the same time, they're a tool to get you out of a pinch. Sometimes they can get you off the highway safely into a better location to actually be able to hook up. So get them. Look into them. I call them cluster straps. I don't know what their actual terminology is over on Zips. I imagine for most of our American listeners, you can head over to Zips. They're probably going to have it, AW Direct, whatever you actually call them. Ratchet.
I've been noticing a lot of people post about Zips and having piss poor pricing. Like a $10,000 strap for some odd reason. Like they've mispriced some of their items on their website.
Oh yeah. What I'm going to do. Look at this. I will, even for those of you watching over on the YouTube side, share the actual straps that I'm talking about. Put them up here. So these are what I'm actually talking about. Maybe not the best reference to do it this way. But as you will see, they are actually like I said, chain that goes in your pocket on one end, the cluster on the other. This is a set's about $300 and some. I do believe there is some other options for singles, about $100, and depending on where you get your stuff from, there's all kinds of different options for it. But yes, check those out. They're absolutely worth it, and we'll get you out of a pinch if you're ever in one. That being said, so we've got another question from Jim in Chicago, Illinois, the Windy City, I hear.
Is it?
I think Chicago.
Oh, my place is pretty windy. I think I got a run for your money.
Jim, I've been watching a lot of Chicago PD. Is that what Chicago feels like? Is that?
You can say the same thing about Flashpoint in Toronto.
Yeah, I think I've seen the wrong side of it. So Jim says, I really enjoy your show. I found it from a reference made by the Tow Business Podcast. Well, thank you, Tow Business Podcast. Yeah. Obviously it's not, you didn't find the name there because they've tend to butcher it every time they've tried to get to it. So but those guys over on the Tow Business Podcast, if you haven't checked them out, listeners, be sure to check them out. They have some great content. If you want to get into more in depth into some of the ins and outs of the business, for sure. Jeff, and he's going to be mad that I can't remember the other one's name. I can't remember who the other guy is at the Tow Business Podcast, but they put on a wonderful show. They're on Spotify, everything else. Be sure to check them out. I don't think they're on YouTube. So if you're over on YouTube, you're going to have to go find them somewhere else. I was wondering if the next time you guys are referencing the towing problems and court cases in Canada, you might give some background for your US listeners. I have seen 401. I'm guessing he means Heavy Rescue 401.
Mm-hmm.
So I have some idea. I am also starting to listen to your past episodes, so I apologize if you covered it already. So if so, I'm sure I'll hear it at some point as I listen through the past episodes. Thank
Brad.
you, Jim in
Brad.
Chicago. Yes, Brad.
Brad and Jeff.
Jeff and Brad. Brad and Jeff. Yeah, no, they are they've got a great podcast. I mean, I'm all for betterment of the industry, and those guys have definitely taken it to a different level. They are very much, they don't pick on each other the way we do. They don't belittle each other the way we do. I think they really avoid swearing and saying bad words like we do. But for information wise, they put on an absolute clinic when it comes to towing podcasts. So be sure to check them out.
They do have a YouTube channel, but it doesn't look like it's updated. The last video was like 9 months ago.
Yeah, they've gone mainly to the audio side. So Jim in Chicago. I'm not 100% sure what court cases you are referencing to. Again, we've done a bunch of episodes. It's 122. I'm sure I've mentioned it on multiples. I feel like you might be talking about the corruption cases, right? With the OPP being charged, the owner of Steve's Towing being charged.
Yep.
I'll give you a general synopsis of if you're referring to the Heavy Rescue 401, and then I'll get into the insurance court cases that we've also referenced in the show. So all of these comments are my opinion. Nothing is stated in fact, and this is just my review based on my understanding of what is going on with the corruption in Toronto. So a towing company who I will not name, who appeared on Heavy Rescue 401, was involved to a certain extent, to which we don't know the full extent, in allegations of corruption with police officers. So what this involved was police officers were being paid or gifted or any type of situation like that in order to steer traffic towards that specific towing company. This was not, does not seem to be that it was simply that cop preferred this towing company because of whether it be their quality of service, their quality of equipment, their ability to get the job done. Their decisions were being based, allegedly, on financial or personal gains that they would receive from the towing company. So those matters are currently in front of the judge, in front of the courts. So at last update that I had is the owner of the towing company had his charges stayed. In other words, I believe stayed would refer to removed or dropped. And it seems to be as long as he cooperates in going after the officers and police that were involved in this level of corruption, meaning he was a small fish in the greater good of the police saving face in this scenario. So his charges were stayed. There is officers that are currently being charged with different levels of I don't want to say it's corruption, but it seems to be more steering business for profitable gain, right? A thing that you cannot do in the industry. What happened in Toronto up until recently, and the government has really cracked down on regulations in Ontario, and there is new regulations coming as of January 1st, the time of airing of this episode. What was happening is Toronto especially, and the province is really, the industry is really centered around Toronto's dealings with the towing industry because it's our highest population city in the province. Right? I want to say it's like 60% of the province lives in Toronto. They ran what was called a first available system, right? And this system was brought out by the OPP alongside the towing industry back in, I couldn't even tell you the year, but well before I was in the industry.
Yep.
So the system would work that everyone ran police scanners, and the OPP or whatever police at the time would announce over the air to anybody monitoring the air, first available truck to this location and this location for an accident. And what that did is that allowed any tow truck, anybody and their brother in a tow truck, to drive as recklessly as possible without getting caught, to get to the scene first so that they could secure what became lucrative tows, not because of the price of the hookup, but because of all the kickbacks that were being received throughout the towing industry. There was kickbacks from the insurance or from body shops, rental car companies, chiropractors, all this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that led, you can just imagine a system like that and a free-for-all with zero regulation, right? Bare minimum. You need a driver's license and insurance. We didn't even need a commercial vehicle operator certificate at the time, or a commercial driver's license. None of that stuff applied. So the system built in. So where these favors were coming in is that the police would give them a heads up and not broadcast it over the air, and instead would call the company directly and steer that traffic towards them. Obviously, that goes against the fairness in business. And that, you know what I mean, is something that we expect the police to give you the, to not be affected by financial gain in these situations, to give you an honest truth, to not steer, or if they're going to steer you towards a company because of good practices, good different things like that, not because they receive money in their pocket. They were no better than the people taking advantage of these accidents and charging lucrative bills and everything to the insurance company. They were no better in that scenario because they had a personal gain and put the public's best interest second to their personal gain.
It was just the easiest way to manage, and I use manage with quotation marks because they did a piss poor job at managing it. It was the easiest and quickest way to get people picked up off the highway with as little effort needed from all the parties involved. And it worked for a while until we got all these bad apples and then these deals started to get established. If it wasn't for the lucrative couple $1,000 kickbacks from certain parties, the issue probably never would have been as big as what it was. Because to be frank, a lot of times they're still charging $1,000 or more dollars to get someone off the highway and back to their pound, which it's good money, but you're not retiring off of that tomorrow type thing. It's when you start talking about each time something gets put out on the air through the scanner, you could be potentially looking at a $10,000-$15,000 income off of that one call if all your cards get played right.
But it wasn't just the light duty stuff that was happening, and that's where I know your expertise isn't on this, G, but it was also heavy incidents. And a heavy recovery can start at $10,000, and I don't think that's much of a recovery, and go anywhere up to the $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 Canadian, right? So again, for you Americans, it's obviously reduced because of the exchange costs and everything else. So we're talking big money. We're not just talking kickbacks. We're talking possible $35,000, $40,000 jobs weekly, right? You were talking about the busiest highway in the world and the busiest city in Ontario, right? These are daily. These accidents happen. If you were steering, traffic that way. Now, one thing that I want to take back from what I said on a previous show is when we looked at the article, there was one officer who was receiving that leased truck. The towing company in question was leasing him a truck, right? It was paying his lease. And they reviewed it and they said that even though it didn't look like he was directing more calls to that company than others, the one number that we don't have in that is he may have been directing the same amount of calls to every company, but was he directing higher valued calls? It's not just about how many times he called that company. But what kind of jobs was he calling them for? Was he calling the other companies for simple fender benders, and then calling the company in question because of a rolled over tractor? That is something that I'm not a lawyer by any means, but that is something definitely the courts would have to take.
Well, we also don't know how that cop interacted with the operators on the side of the road, right? Because a lot of times you would get officers or a tow truck driver, and I do say driver, would get a little lippy and may or may not get kicked off scene for whatever reason, justified or not. Maybe that officer was a little bit more likely to kick another officer or another driver off the location when that certain company was there. Who knows?
We don't know. Right. So what that did to the industry, and it kind of leads into the other problem that, with court cases. What that did to the industry is it absolutely painted the entire industry with a terrible brush. Right? It just
there was shooting.
on top.
People got murdered over it.
Yeah. Right. So the industry got painted in a terrible light.
Mm-hmm.
And one, I don't want to say person, but one entity that really took attention to that was the insurance companies.
Mm-hmm.
So in the insurance company's mind, the towing industry is all a bunch of crooks and overcharging.
Mm-hmm.
What that did is it made it very hard for honest companies to increase or to explain to insurance companies how our operating costs work.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Why is it $400 for an accident? Why is it this much for a rotator? Why is it all of these things?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody understands. I know towers that don't fully understand the towing industry.
Yep.
How do we expect police and insurance companies to? So, in Ontario, what happened, and this is something that has happened specifically with my company as well as many others, is recently in the last year or so, we have decided to increase our storage rate.
Mm-hmm.
That storage rate has not increased in about 7-8 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the cost of inflation and everything else going up, we have decided to increase our storage rate at by $5 a day.
Mm-hmm.
$5 a day. Insurance companies automatically kicked, right? Because they were, and it borderline is price fixing,
Mm-hmm.
right? They would not pay. We will not pay this $5 a day storage,
Mm-hmm.
this extra $5 a day storage. And talking with some of my American counterparts, we are still well under what your rate is down there,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they would not kick at this $5 a day storage. So what they started doing is they started bringing the cases to court. And how that works in Ontario is the insurance company, if you guys cannot come, because we will not release the vehicle until we have secured payment, right? That is you, because we can, as a storage and lien facility, we can put a lien against that vehicle.
Yep.
So what they do is they file a Section 24 into the courts. And they also file the money into the courts.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's at what our current invoice is. And I believe they have to add a little percentage on top of it. I'm not 100% on the full specifics of it.
Mm-hmm.
Into the courts, into a trust. So
Yep.
they lose that money. We do not get that money.
Yep.
We do not get that money or access to that money until the matter is heard in court.
Mm-hmm.
So what they have done is once they have served that, we have a set period of time, and it's not very long, to release the vehicle to the insurance company.
Mm-hmm.
So what they do is then they now claim back the vehicle, send it to auction, send it for repair, whatever it is that they're going to do with that vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
And let it sit tied up in courts. And the court dates right now, as we know, are backed up well over a year.
Mm-hmm.
So they have recouped their cost.
Yep.
Right, to the best of their abilities, whether it be through auction, whether it be through whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And the tower is stuck holding the bill until the date it goes to court. And what insurance companies have started to do is they will offer a resolution right before it goes to court. Right? For your original amount. Or maybe even a little bit less, even their original offer.
Yep.
And I have known companies that have gone to court and actually got less than the insurance company's original offer.
Really?
Because the courts don't understand our business any better than the insurance companies do.
Yep.
Right? So it is something that we need to be better prepared and better have an understanding how the courts view it so that we can be prepared for that. So what is happening though is a mom and pop operation could have, right? If you think about this, let's say your bill, and at the time of this, normally they've sat for 3 days worth of storage.
Mm-hmm.
And then they sit for another 4 days while this goes on. And, you gain about a week storage out of it, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
But your bill could be anywhere from $500 to $1,000.
Yep.
Okay. And you have to release that car. You don't have access to that fund.
No.
Now, if you start doing that for one car, that's okay. Right? Most companies, not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Small mom and pop shops, and even it starts to affect you get bigger, you start to get to 10 cars. You start to get to 20 cars, 25 cars, 50 cars.
Yep.
That they have done this. Now, the easiest solution is to back down from your original and go back to your price minus the $5.
Mm-hmm.
Right? To go back to where you were safe and where. But what that does is the insurance company is never going to allow an increase.
No.
Right? So, but I understand companies can't float $50,000 in court. They need that cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
They need that available. And the insurance companies know this.
Yep.
Now they have done, which this is the ironic part of it. In Ontario, we have seen instances where insurance companies have said, I can't pay the extra $5 a day storage, but how about, oh, you're at 10 days storage? How about I add $150 in a winch fee that didn't happen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, can you change your bill up to
Yeah.
incorporate that extra $5 a day storage that I'm not going to pay? Mark it down to the $60 a day and put that extra $200 on a towing fee. Meanwhile, it was only going to be $135 for the extra
I've
storage.
absolutely seen that scenario.
So
That
they're
exact
paying more
scenario.
money
Yeah.
just to see that storage fee remain at the $60 a day mark.
Yes, we have absolutely seen that in Ontario, where they have paid us more money than what we were asking for, but just they wanted it distributed differently. And here's what I tell them: we'll accept a grand total of this amount. The broken down invoice is still going to show $65 a day.
Yep.
I don't care.
Yep.
I don't care. You break it out how you want to break it out. You put it in whatever box, an envelope on your accounting side. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact is that you are not arguing that my services are not worth that.
Mm-hmm.
That is not what you are arguing, because you are willing to pay them.
Mm-hmm.
You are arguing that my breakdown doesn't fit the way that you need it to fit. That is a you problem, not a me problem. I don't call my insurance adjuster and say, hey, oof, you know that $500 for general liability, whatever, premium I pay? Can you take that and make it $450 but put $100 on my medical benefit deductible or benefit, premium that I pay?
Mm-hmm.
I know it's going to be $5 more, but I just can't have it showing up on my statement that way. Go kick rocks.
Because guess what? When you pay something, it just shows you the total. It doesn't show you the
You can
breakdown on
tell
your
your
credit card
bosses whatever.
statement.
You can tell your bosses whatever breakdown you want. I don't care. Pay the bill.
I think
Right? But,
one of the issues, I know we're running a little bit long on time, but one of the issues I think when you look at it as a grand scale, especially from an outsider looking in, if someone has got towed by a company and they've paid $100 to get towed, right? Fair enough. In town local tow, $100. And then they get into an accident and they see something for about the same amount of a service, but it's a $600 tow now, and they're like, well, I got towed in town the last time for $100, right? And then they go to a roadside and they hear from some snarky driver that the roadside's only paying them like $60 to do the same service. Well, in our industry, we have so many different price points for so many different things, and it could be the exact same service, but it's hard to justify. And I know we've justified it before on this show about priority,
mhm,
response time,
mhm.
different tricks. The
Now
storage is a big one.
requirements.
Yep.
Now
We now have
requirements,
more
because in
requirements.
Ontario
We
you
have to be
require to
licensed, have
permit to
to,
do. Yeah.
yep.
Yep.
There's a lot more that's going on. But down to the $5 a day storage, this is for a Canada thing. We got hit with that carbon tax that just keeps going up and up and up, and that affects heating, that affects electricity, that kind of stuff. Well, the our mortgage rates haven't gone down any. The mortgage rates have gone up, so it now costs us more money to keep a
Mhm,
facility to
mhm,
store these cars. And for any other business, it's a justified thing to raise your prices accordingly to that. And the fact that we are getting so much backlash over a $5 a day service for the storage is
mhm,
absurd in our eyes,
mhm,
but it seems completely justified in other people's eyes because maybe you charge a $60 a day for people that have to pay to get their cars out themselves,
mhm.
or you charge this for that type of service, but you charge us more because we're what, a big company, not just some guy in town. Well,
Well,
yeah,
well, that was
but no.
actually funny, right? Because that was one of the insurance's big things,
Yeah.
is they wanted to, back in the day, it used to be, oh, you were in an accident. Are you going through insurance? Yes. Okay. Then it's this much. Are you paying out of pocket? Yes. Okay. And then it's this much. And
Yeah.
that was a big problem on the towing industry. No
Mhm.
doubt that was a big problem on the towing industry. But so, they said, well, you can't charge differently based on who's paying the bill. I agree. No problem.
Yep.
You think that means I'm going to my lower price?
Hmm. No.
No, I'm going to my higher price.
Yeah.
Right? Like So you want me to be fair? I'll be fair. I'll charge everybody the same thing. At the end of the day, the consumer is the one that's going to pay for it.
Yep. It's just a shame because the insurance companies got us by the gonads, and they know.
And the customer suffers through this.
Oh yeah, 100%.
The customer is waiting longer to get their car to a repair facility, right? And at the end of the day, it's a game that the insurance companies are playing. And I'd love to be able to get into more details over it because obviously issues are in front of the courts and different things. We can't show the outcome of any cases or how many cases and all that kind of stuff. But if you reach out privately, if you want to reach out, message the page, might be able to share a little more information with you. Anyone who's struggling with that.
I'm pretty sure we've gotten pre-typed emails for stuff like that too, that people are able to send to the insurance companies to help fight.
Yeah, I've met with companies at the tow show where I sent them all the information that we had on pre-set up stuff and how to do different things. And so far, by the sounds of it, they've had good luck with it. So that being said, Jim from Chicago, I hope that answered your question. I'm not sure which one you were asking. But we touched on a little bit of everything to be able to give you a little clarity on the fun that we have up in Canada. So if you guys have similar issues that in the United States or similar problems, I'd love to hear it. If you found tricks to dealing with insurance companies or want to share your rates and compare and all that stuff, I got no problem doing any of that. Obviously not on the show. We do that privately. But you can find us at the Towing Life podcast on Facebook. You can email us at thetowinglife@gmail.com. You can comment down below over on YouTube, like and subscribe, or you can visit us at www.towinglife.ca. Don't forget, while you're over on the website, get your recovery of the month calendar before they sell out and enter in. Take a short 1 minute. 1 minute is a lot. Hey, we talk for an hour. You got to be able to send us at least a minute of you telling your favorite towing story, where you will be judged on lighting, quality of audio, and also quality of work, and how many words you can use. If you can throw in words with more than 4 syllables at least 5 times in that minute, you have yourself a good shot of winning the co-host contest.
That video may or may not be shown on the podcast.
I will make sure to have a checkbox that you click to give us all rights to use that if need be. So, on behalf of myself, my wonderful co-host, Mr. TowManG, we thank you for joining us on another episode of the Towing Life podcast. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Welcome to 2024. Let's go. See ya.
Toodles.